Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. We are all back this evening to discuss a little movie called They Look Like People. Maybe not the best movie of the year, but maybe the best title. But we can talk about that soon. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. My name's Eric. Joining me tonight, first up, newly wedded. His name is now officially Mr. Mark Vaughn Newell. He is the web developer at bloodygoodhorror.com. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Hey.
How do you feel being in a hyphenate now?
I'm not doing that. I don't think I'm doing
Got him. Next up on the show, he lives in Manhattan. That's in New York City. No big deal. And he rides his bike to work because what else would you do? His name is John Schnars.
Hey yo.
We got some great Schnars stories coming up here.
Oh,
but
dear Lord.
First, joining
I'm a little
us,
nervous, guys.
Joining us hot off his Halloween People vacation, he is the co-host of the Instamatic. He's also an author of horror fiction, and his name is Casey.
Hello.
Casey in the house. Last up tonight from Chicago, New York. Interests include meats.
Close enough.
Meats and Chicago, New York. Is that what I said? Holy shit.
Chicago, New York.
Wow.
Is that like China, Illinois?
Yeah. He likes meat and Disney, and his name is Joe.
I do. I love both of those things.
He likes beer,
And
too.
If you want to email me, I will talk to you about them.
So many things have happened since the last show, you guys. I don't even really know where to start, so let's just start with the first thing that happened, which is somebody did Mark the honor of making him their wife.
My wife.
Now you can use that joke.
I mean, if we're going in true chronological order, John arrived at Joe's apartment slightly before that thing.
Well, and 9 months ago, I made a baby for the first part, so...
Eric made love to a woman
Yeah.
one time.
No big deal.
When a man...
We only have proof that it happened once.
Yeah.
And the gestation is complete.
But yeah, so I mean, we can kind of intertwine all these topics. For me, I love hearing these stories of things that happened sort of on the outside of my wedding because I didn't get to see a lot of it, and I don't have Snapchat, so everything that Joe posted of John, I totally missed.
There
But
was
other things other than me. I mean, to be clear, it was the full
eventually it
story.
just turned into me following you around, like videoing and taking pictures of you drunk. I will say if I have one regret from the weekend, it is not getting a picture of John tying my bow tie in his hotel room.
It's John turns into like a really sweet frat boy toddler when he's drunk. And it's a really great thing.
But
to do.
also, he's also a sports expert and a business expert. Like, he will tell you things about sports and sports business that you never
like
knew.
a frat toddler.
Like a frat
So
toddler.
let's just be clear. I went to a dark place.
Did you?
Honestly,
John, that place
I'll be
was filled with light. Don't you get it
I will
wrong.
be really honest. I don't even know how I got there. I mean, I know how I got there, but it was like I went off a cliff and didn't even see it coming.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, if you felt dark on the inside, you were projecting light on the outside.
Wait a second,
You
I'm
weren't
not
So
bringing
you
Wait.
are like, usually when someone gets as drunk as you are, they get pretty like angry and like belligerent. But I want to say it was like 10 o'clock and I saw you like hiccuping and I'm like, we should probably go, John. I'll take you to a hotel. And you're like, like, and just no fight at all. You're just like, yeah, okay.
Well, I knew I was off the deep end at that point. I basically like browned out where like I have snippets, and I remember being like, I'm in bed shape.
I gotta say, sitting talking with Joe and John was my favorite part of the wedding. Now, you know what? There were lots of favorite parts, but it was pretty high up there. And
you can say like one of your favorite
If
parts.
Joe had left me
it was
at that
pretty good.
wedding, I never would have gotten home. Let's just be honest.
So Joe also took this amazing picture that I didn't realize until like days later, which was John was drunk and talking to me, and I am looking at him like I have never loved someone so much in my life. Like you can really see it in my eyes. And so he just
Laura wasn't there, to be honest.
he
He might have been a little lonely.
He Snapchatted it, and then somebody screen capped the Snapchat and posted on Twitter and said, what the hell to say? It was like, find someone that looks at you the way Eric BGH looks at Schnars.
That's right.
And then I had never seen it. I'm like, oh my God, I really am looking at him like he is my wife. And then I put it on Instagram because I just thought it was a beautiful moment that I wanted to preserve forever, you know? So
I've already printed it out, put it on my
yeah,
wall.
it was great.
I will say too, because I know Eric doesn't want to brag, but
I made a baby.
my mother-in-law said, "Wow, your brother Eric is lots of fun," and I was like, if you had asked me 2 weeks ago if Eric Newell was going to bring the fun, I would have said that you are out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I will give
it
you
was
credit where
more-
credit's due.
Yeah, it was more drinking than Eric's done in how long?
A little friend called Scotch Eric came out. Actually, it was whiskey, it was whiskey
really held
Eric
it
the
together
first
though. I
night.
feel like with the exception of John, which was adorable, and my high school friend Matt, who was a fucking tornado of belligerence.
Wow.
Everyone
Was Matt the
on
one who was
best
dancing like constantly?
He was dancing
Yeah.
like the killer from Silence of the Lambs.
Because
basically,
that
the whole-
guy,
just-
I want to say I spent 75% of your wedding just following him around laughing like a mental patient.
the way it came to me that day that he's our Bill Brasky. We don't really know anything about him, but we tell tales of everything that he does.
Brasky.
And
Amazing. I think I agreed to get an apartment with him.
I will say though,
but,
like,
so
like-
just to wrap it up and transition, it was a fantastic time.
oh, there's more.
There was confetti and dancing.
There's more.
There's more. I just wanted to wrap up my part. It was awesome. So,
It was lovely. I love the confetti moment. It was a great
Yeah.
moment.
I mean,
that was a surprise to us. That was
mean,
smuggled in.
Here's
We
the
didn't- we
thing.
had no idea.
Here's the thing. Mark is a feel-good guy. He likes to have a good time. People like him. You get all these people around the wedding, so it's just like great vibes all around. It was like the craziest, like wedding dance floor party I've ever seen. Like, you know, every wedding you go to, people get hammered and they're dancing, but I feel like if the music had just gone until like the next day, nobody would have stopped. Like everybody.
Some
would've
say
kept
they're
going.
still dancing
Yeah.
to this day.
So I finally at the we were there one night, and then the next night was the rehearsal dinner, and I just like, I've been traveling, I was tired, I kind of felt like shit. I'm like, you know what, I need to drink.
Scotchy.
So I went up to the bar. I was telling the guys this on the pre-show, and I was like, "Do you guys have like a cider or anything?" Because like people know that's kind of been it's like a thing I could do, I guess, like cider. And he's like, "No, sorry." And I'm like, "All right, I'll just have Maker's Mark." And I haven't drank in almost a year. I had 5 whiskeys or bourbons that first night and held it together like a champ. I would just like that stated.
Well,
for the
I was
record.
surprised you weren't more tanked
Yeah.
at the wedding because you were drinking a fair bit of scotch.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I don't even like scotch. Scotch is gross.
ah,
But yeah,
so
I did at one
tasty.
point look over to my other sister-in-law and at the rehearsal dinner was like, I feel warm inside.
the Lord's light is shining upon you.
My shoulder feels great. I don't know why. It's awesome though.
You did get into that spot where you just like you get kind of quiet, but you just wander around and smile at people and like say nice things to them. It's
Yeah.
like you're unlocking.
This
Yeah,
might
I
surprise people, but I'm like a super happy, like affectionate drunk.
That's true.
Yeah, it just brings it
Lots of
out, you know.
I
That's what it takes.
yeah. One of my wife's family friends came up to me during the wedding. She's like, "I've never seen so many men hugging and crying."
There's a lot of that going on, yeah.
Yeah, I
Listen,
was like,
man,
yeah, that describes. This
We are
group
in touch.
general.
We're in touch with our feelings, man. What can I say?
Yeah.
My daughter graduated from pre-K the next day, and I just spent 48 hours just bawling my eyes out between your wedding and
Who said that to you? Because that's really funny. I like that a lot.
what's that?
You have to tell me later, Mark.
Wait, what?
I said who said that because that's actually really funny. And
Oh yeah, I'll tell you later.
yeah. So the wedding was amazing. Congratulations, Mark. We just want to say that. Yay! The last
He did
of
it.
the last of the
He did
OG
it.
crew to get married. We all
Yeah.
need wives, Mark.
Now we got to start getting divorced.
Your wife.
You know,
Got
Joe
it.
Joe
Hashtag got a
jokes.
wife.
Joe jokes, but he's secretly the biggest softie of us all.
Oh my
I've
God.
We know.
Just a blubbering mess at that wedding.
Our little Mark finally grew up.
What's that?
I said our little Mark finally grew up.
Oh yeah, sure did.
So the other thing that was going on was like my wife was scheduled to be induced on Tuesday, like 2 days after this, 3 days after this wedding or whatever. And I don't know if anybody's been watching the news, but I like to watch the news. And there's been like, it's been just a disaster at airports and like airport security, and like centered in Chicago apparently. So
Yeah, like specifically O'Hare's been a nightmare.
yeah, and we weren't O'Hare, but like everybody at the wedding, like especially for my family because we're all neurotic, who like flew in was super scared about missing their flight, whatever. So I think like at the wedding was just a really good time, and I also was nervous, so I just got this crazy adrenaline shot. So I went to the hotel room, I showered, I packed up everything, and then I went down to the bar, and I found like the last stragglers of Mark's friends and drank with them for like a little over an hour, hour and a half. Played foosball, and like actually I was drinking with Mark's friend who doesn't drink, who ordered a root beer float at the bar at like 1:30 in the morning, which I thought
like
was
a
adorable.
boss.
Yeah.
What?
So then I went straight to the airport at like 1:30 in the morning.
I would like a virgin spiked root beer float, please.
Yeah. And I was like, it's just pumped. I had all this adrenaline. I was drunk because I had another drink. And then I'm just like, I walked in the airport and it's like the lights are on and there's like 5 people there and there's a dude buffing the floors. And I just had this moment where I went, oh my God, what have I done?
I made a terrible mistake.
I like could not even process that.
So I figured because I only had, at best, I had 3 hours of sleep at best before I had to get up to get ready. And even then, like, I didn't know how long it was going to take me to get through security. So I figured at least if I got to the airport, I could make it happen. Because my flight was like 6:10 or something.
Yeah.
So they told me that security opened at 3:30. So it was like 1:30 maybe. I set my alarm and I like got myself like horizontal and wedged myself underneath like the arms of the chair so that I could like lay down, you know? And I didn't think I had fallen asleep, but when I woke up, I sat up. There was like 200 people waiting to check bags at a counter that wasn't even open yet. It was like 3:15. My alarm didn't even go off.
Oh, dear Lord.
Because everyone else was freaking out about getting on their flight too. So everyone showed to the airport at 3 a.m. Like it was insane.
This might be like an asshole thing to say at this point, but everybody should just get this TSA pre-check. I literally should have. I was so close to missing my flight and made it because I had TSA pre-check. I was in security for 10 minutes.
Well,
But if everyone gets that, John, then the regular line will be empty.
Schnars,
yeah, you know what? No one get TSA pre-check.
I will say what I owe to you, buddy, is we were talking to you last week, like pre everything, and you're like, oh yeah, there's no way I'm checking a bag. Yeah. And like I don't know, it was a 4-day trip or something, and I had all this clothes, but I'm like, you know what? Schnars is right. I can't check a bag. So I crammed everything into this tiny little carry-on. And so I didn't have to check anything. That was like the savior. Yeah. Anyway, so like I barely slept. I fucking flew home, had breakfast. I got like one decent night's sleep, and then we were in the hospital the next night. And then the next night at like 10:30, baby showed up. So
baby.
And I haven't slept since. So I'm feeling great, you guys.
Dude, so the end of my night at Mark's wedding, and I'll do this quick. I woke up in my hotel room with all the lights on. I had not set an alarm, yet somehow I woke up at like 6 a.m. Like it was one of those things where my body just like snapped away.
Your internal clock does not get drunk.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
And my flight was at 7:30. Well, it takes 45 minutes just to get to the airport.
At 6?
Yeah. So literally, I showered in like less than 5 minutes and packed my bag. I was on the street at like probably 6:10, having showered because I had to go right to work.
Selling that sweet ass for a ride to the airport.
I got into a cab, got to the airport at like probably 40 minutes before my flight. I got through security. I had already checked in. So that's the thing. They won't let you check in. You have to be 45 minutes before your flight to check in. I checked in the night before. I had like a printed out boarding pass from Joe's house. And so I got on the plane. But I literally like walked on the plane.
Sitting around here.
They'd already boarded. It was ridiculous.
Dear Lord. It was weird. I was walking out of your hotel room, and the last thing that went through my head is like, I wonder if John set the alarm.
The funny thing is, I usually do it before I start drinking because just in case. And here we are.
Like as I was
just
leaving,
in case you get white girl wasted.
As I was leaving, I gave my hotel room to one of Mark's friends who was gonna have to take a train like out to the countryside to sleep that night. And I thought he was gonna mouth kiss me because he was so excited about not having to go anywhere.
Crying, hugging, mouth kissing.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great wedding, though, Mark. Thank you for your delightful.
That was a great time.
Good times.
John and I fixed a tire.
We did. Joe blew out a tire. It was a mess.
We ate Italian beef.
We did man things.
Oh, yeah.
Did you eat the Italian beef while you fixed the tire? Because that would be the most Chicago shit I've ever.
I shoved hot dogs down his pants.
I was pretty pumped. I got my like fix of Chicago culture while I was there.
Yeah, it was cool. I saw the bean. Whatever, no big deal. I was
Oh, yeah.
there. I took a big dump.
Were you eating an Italian beef sandwich
Yeah.
while you were looking at the
I took a
Smearing it on it.
dumb picture
Although
of myself in the bean.
Well, I don't know if you guys indulged, but the hotel that we got married in was adjacent to a Shake Shack, which is a fine institution with meats and things. And so
We have plenty of them in New York.
oh, cool.
That's where they started.
So Mark, you are now the last of the OG BGH crew to not get a daughter.
Yeah.
There
That's
you go.
true.
How do you feel
Get
about
to
that?
work,
That's right.
dog.
Only I'm the daughterless one you can refer to me as.
Now that we've confirmed that Eric has made love at least one time, you are now on the clock as the
And
last potential
apparently-
person.
Now that the Lord has blessed my union and I'm no longer living in sin, I suppose I can get on the daughter
There you
business.
go.
And apparently I did it pretty good, Schnar, so no big deal.
Good enough.
So here, my verdict of parenting after like a week is, at least like early stage, is you ever talk to somebody with a baby, and I swear to God, Joe's said this like several times in the show, but it's always like, oh God, I'm so tired and I feel like I'm gonna die, and it's the worst, but also like it's amazing, it's really special, you know what I mean? Like, and as a non-childed person for a long time, I always thought, oh, they're just throwing that in because they don't want to feel bad saying it's terrible. But no, like that's totally real. Like I feel like I'm going to die, but also it's like the most amazing thing in the world.
I feel
It
like
does
Eric's
weird
got
things.
some sunshine in his soul.
It's
I love it.
incredible. Like it really is. It's this amazing fucking thing, but also I feel like I'm going to die. And like those things can exist at the same time. I now realize that.
Eric and I FaceTimed for the first time in the history of FaceTime yesterday.
I had to
For baby
unveil
time.
the queen baby Newell.
Queen babe.
That's right.
All right, guys. So should we talk about murder and mental illness now? Is that a thing?
Hydrochloric acid.
Yeesh.
I got a beer.
What do you got, Joe? What do you drink? What are we drinking tonight? Also, wait, hold on, stand by. If somebody can send me, I want to put this Instagram mark in the feed here or in the
I'm on
show,
it.
but I can't like grab it from this page. Sorry.
I'm having
Continue.
trouble with that.
Continue, Joe.
So this week we watched what is it? They Look Like People. That's what the name of this movie is.
Yes,
All
correct.
right.
Actually called He Thinks He's People.
He thinks he's
Aw.
people. And in honor of that, I you don't need to know anything about the movie, but I'm gonna really enjoy saying this, but I picked a beer from the good people at Good People Brewing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
In Birmingham, Alabama. And this is just their IPA. They don't have a fancy, clever name for it. They just call it IPA. This one I have had. I think you can really only get it like in the South. I think I actually had it in Nashville on a trip. But super good, like very sort of straightforward, clean IPA. Almost like sort of an earthy flavor to it. Obviously, you get sort of that citrus and everything, but it's very like crisp, not sort of like an overpowering hop like punch you in the face. It's unfiltered, so that's what kind of gives it sort of that like, I don't want to say it again, but like earthiness. You really kind of taste the hops without just like a big like citrus punch in your face. So very good, very clean, straightforward. I haven't had a ton of their other stuff, but from what I've read, like everything they put out is very good. So if you can find it, I would definitely suggest it. This one comes in at about 7% alcohol, so it's a little bit up there. You can have a few of these and start feeling pretty good. Get your dancing shoes on, if you will. And goodpeoplebrewing.com is their website. And yeah, not a ton to say about this one, but it's very good if you can find it.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Joe.
Thank you.
That's the beer recommendation, something you get here every week with Mr. Joe. We were talking pre-show. I am drinking an all-natural spiked seltzer.
I didn't even realize that was a thing. I like it though.
It basically just tastes like if you put vodka into seltzer.
So it's
like, all right.
I was gonna accuse you of drinking a Smirnoff Ice because that's what it looks
No,
like.
but I said to Joe, like, I was looking and I definitely was in the, like, Bartles and James aisle, which I didn't feel great about, but, like, gotta do what you gotta do, man.
with Bartles and James.
Yeah.
I'm drinking the Vallejo IPA, which for the people hanging out at Chicago Athletic Association this past weekend claimed many a bunghole because everyone was drinking it, and it was
What a cool fucking hotel, man. It's like it used to be an old-timey, like, gentleman's club or something, and they kept, like, all these original wood stuff, and it's got,
they
like,
made a
game
real
room.
progressive decision to let women in.
Yeah, it's basically the same place, only now ladies can get in.
We didn't even mention that. At one point, it dawned on me that your photographer 100% thought that John and I were there together as a couple.
You guys were wearing matching bow
bow ties, and you were like you were inseparable.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see the wedding pics.
Yeah. But I definitely like caught her more than once just taking a picture of John and I together.
Oh my
I can't
God.
wait to see one that's got like a little like heart with like outside of the heart is blurred, but inside the heart is you two.
Yeah, Mark, please
Wow,
keep an eye out.
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Oh,
man.
I totally did.
Mark, please keep an
And
eye out
Joe's
for
like,
those.
he just gets like this sometimes. We need to go.
I feel like one of us should have taken off our wedding ring, John.
I am going to, when you find those, Mark, I'm going to need a copy of one of those so I can start putting it in the video every week, just so you know. So keep an eye out.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I'll make it. If there's a picture of the two of them, I will.
I mean,
I'll make it.
All
to
right,
be fair, I
guys.
did make John go bow tie shopping with me.
It's true. We went to,
I
what was
knew
the
it had
name
to
of
be
that store? I
coordinated.
can't even remember now.
I have no idea.
I'd never heard of it before at that
Alright.
lovely mall.
All right, guys. Life
Movie
changes.
time.
That's the theme of this week's episode of Bloody Good Horror. Now, let's take a quick break so that we can review They Look Like People.
You know, it helps that I'm smooth and knotless.
See how my scrotumless bottom fits snugly with the tree?
This is Ashley C. Williams from the Human Centipede, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror Podcast.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. Back into the house.
I ate.
I actually
bottom,
not.
eh?
I'm not gonna lie, you guys. Like, I cannot believe that I'm here right now doing this show because I woke up this morning after about 2 hours of sleep, feeling like I was going to die. So I feel like I've already accomplished something today. is what
I mean,
I'm
I
saying.
honestly will get there, but I feel like, especially on a week where everyone's just kind of stretched thin, I can't believe this is the fucking movie
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
but right. On like normal weeks, we can't all get to a show, and now we're just all here.
It couldn't have been Sharknado 3.
Eric, man, I can't wait till we talk in like 2 months, and
I
you're
know.
still at like 3 hours of sleep a night.
Seriously.
I was just saying on the pre-show, like I'm going back to work Monday, but I'm pretty sure I'm showing up, and I'm just gonna be like, "Look, guys, don't expect much." Like, this
They
is-
know. If
yeah.
they have kids, they know.
They do.
You got to nap, man. Just nap.
No, I
like,
slept
every-
at least twice today for like
Yeah.
extended periods of time, but
You have to. It's I don't know. It's sort of easier with the second one, just because like you know what to do, and like Suzanne.
oh yeah, we
like,
totally boned up the first night and just like did not have a plan, and it was just pure chaos.
yeah.
So we've been like sort of refining the plan the last couple nights. It's getting better, but yeah, the first night was a shit show.
Can you stick the baby to a fridge with a magnet?
God. You also don't know their pattern yet because so like you're just guessing what's gonna happen basically.
Yeah.
That pretty much continues for the next 3 years.
We quick aside, we took away my 2-year-old son's pacifier.
Oh.
Like permanently. He's not allowed to have it. He had been only using it to sleep, but we took it away this weekend
Tough
over the
love.
long weekend.
Tough love,
We're like,
I
we'll
like
have 3 days. He fucking screamed like like the neighbors. I'm a little surprised no one called the police because it was.
I know that. There's been times Mia has screamed where I seriously thought like our upstairs neighbors must think we're murdering her.
Did
Like,
you hear those fucking monsters took away his pacifier?
Yeah, it was the same way
They're
before.
banging on the wall. Just give it back.
It was
I
the
don't think
same
we're
way.
going to talk about movies anymore.
It was the same way when we took Mark's pacifier away before his wedding last week. So,
Same brain, because I was going to make that same joke about you.
hey, John, tell us
Savage.
about this movie, John. God damn it.
Wait, do you want a word? Do you want me
Oh,
to give
fuck.
you a word?
Word of the day. What do you got for us tonight, John?
Man, we're bringing the A game,
God.
and I'm gonna bring the A game with today's word: delude. D-E-L-U-D-E. Delude means to impose a misleading belief upon, to deceive or to fool. So I was actually going to go with delusion, which I actually don't think I've ever done, although, someone can check me on that.
Gotta guarantee you have.
Well, so I looked up the origin of delude, which is the root of delusion, and it comes from the Latin, which is not surprising. So there is a Latin word ludere, which means to play, and you add the D to it, and they turned it into mock. So that's deludare, and that eventually comes to us through the late Middle English to become delude.
Everything gets better when you add the D, John. I miss your musk.
So yeah, delusion.
Am I the only one who just heard Joe say that?
No, I heard it.
Okay.
I'm just more used to being around Joe than you are.
All right.
I'm still smelling that pillow you used.
Yeah. Joe's like, while you slept, I changed the pillowcase and took it home with me.
So yeah, they look like people.
What's this about, John? Tell me.
It's about a guy. His name is Wyatt, and Wyatt shows up in New York. I think more specifically in Brooklyn, and he meets up with his buddy Christian, and they're kind of like old friends. And Wyatt's kind of having some rough times. Is he living on the street when he runs into Christian, or is he kind of like sleeping outside? I can't remember now, but
he says like he's going to a friend's place, but then just like bumps into this guy.
Yeah. So he and Christian invites him to come kind of stay with him, kind of sees that something's up. And yeah, it's kind of just from there about the sort of unfolding psychological issues that are impacting Wyatt and his ability to, live in proper society. Specifically, he receives these phone calls in the middle of the night, which tell him that there's this sort of evil coming, and there's this plot or conspiracy where beings or some entities are taking over humans. So that's sort of where the title of the film comes from, although I don't think it's ever said explicitly like they look like people. It's just that a lot of people are evil and not what they appear. And so, a lot of the film kind of centers around the impact or the way that we see his delusions impacting himself, and then how he then acts around, Christian. There's one other sort of main character named Mara, who is someone who works with Christian, and then also his pseudo love. I guess she's his real love interest, not just pseudo. At one point, or sort of halfway about through the film, Christian gets fired, and there's all, it's sort of revealed that he's gone through some tough times. So in a lot of ways, he's like the right friend to be dealing with Wyatt. But it's a very kind of stripped down, lo-fi film of these two friends just kind of dealing with one friend's like real serious issues.
Yeah. Hey, Mark. Mr. Mark.
Yeah.
Von Newell, what did you think of this movie?
Just makes me sound like a count. The more I think about it, I think that this movie is really defensible as a film and not so much as a movie. Yeah. Like, not so much as a piece of entertainment, but like as a really well-made film, I think. I think the thing that this kind of nails is the relationship between the friends, and specifically not the Wyatt character, but his best friend character. I kind of love this idea that he's like a total fucking nerd who's just like trying to get away from it by like working out a ton and just talking about, like, I thought that was like a really well fleshed out character. I think that there's some decent tension in this. This movie actually reminded me a lot of Eric's favorite movie, Pontypool, in terms of like not really, in terms of production value, and also just not really having any fucking idea what's going on, but like sort of being on board with the tension a little bit. We'll talk about the ending. The ending was like probably one of the most disappointing parts of the entire movie, but I thought that the lead up to the ending was actually one of the best parts of the movie, which is maybe why the ending itself was pretty disappointing. So I think this is interesting, and hopefully we can kind of like squeeze a little bit out of it, but ultimately I was just kind of like, it's a little bit of a trial to make it through, and I wouldn't classify it as enjoyable, really.
Yeah. Casey.
I'm right there with Mark, really, because I can't say that I hated this movie, and it was, it led me through the movie just trying to figure out what the hell was going on, so it had some draw to it to keep you go through there, because like you said, the characters were pretty strong. I liked Wyatt. I liked his buddy. I thought they were both pretty strong characters, so there's some interesting stuff going on there. It's just a weird flick. It's paced weird. It's kind of hard to figure out what's going on. And like Mark said, the ending can be very off-putting if you're not quite ready for it. It's a little jarring.
Thankfully, I was, because I saw somebody's complaint, not like spoiled, but I saw somebody say that was the ending. So I was like, it was okay. But if
It was
you
a
haven't
dream the
seen-
whole time.
But if you haven't seen this yet and you're listening to the show, then congratulations, you have a warning. Joe.
I probably like this a little better than Mark and Casey. I will say, like, the further I get away from it, the more I start to forget the things I didn't like as I was watching it. I mean, for starters, it is super, super slow. But there are some like really nice tension points in this, like specifically when he kind of confronts this guy, not like girlfriend, but his buddy's like love interest. And I actually really enjoyed the ending. Like, I thought it was kind of a nice twist on a twist. And I kind of like the way that they played it out. So that actually, like, the last 15 minutes I thought were pretty great. But I mean, I think it's only like an hour and 20-minute movie. So it is pretty short, but I was watching, and at one point I'm like, I've got to be at least like an hour into this thing. And then I looked at the time and it had been 25 minutes. So that's not a great endorsement, but I mean, I would say I'm probably more positive than negative about this one.
John.
All right, full transparency. I finished this literally before I dialed into the show. So, and even then I had to skip a little bit toward the end just to make it in time. So that said, I'm really sad that I had to do that because I was enjoying this a fair bit. And for me, it's one of the better drawn films about mental illness that we've ever watched. I think we've seen a lot of movies that are sort of in this vein where it's kind of like how much of this is happening in someone's head. It's not an untouched trope by any means in horror, but you know, I sort of mentioned this is like super lo-fi. The review that we have on the site, I think it's from Luke. Luke mentioned, he kind of calls it a mumblecore horror movie, or he kind of alludes to it in that vein, and I can see why. I don't know, like I agree with a lot of what everyone said that they liked about it. And I think Mark's point about the relationship between the friends is great. I thought the Wyatt character was just, I mean, he was pretty interestingly drawn. I mean, his quote unquote insanity is like really it's not like he's like an over the top crazy person. He's just a guy who like knows that he has some issues, and even still he can't really help himself distinguishing fact from fiction. I think to Joe's point too, like the way that it ends in that regard, like thinking about it through the lens of like Wyatt is like someone really wrestling with like pretty serious mental illness. Like, I appreciated the way they did the ending, you know, for what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric agrees with everything that I said.
Eric is balls deep in his alcoholic seltzer right now, so we might not get him back.
This is a weird movie.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that. Also, like, you know, I'm a little sleep deprived, so this was the first, like, actual intellectual process I've undertaken in about a week. So that, I don't know, maybe that was a factor, but I liked this, but I think Mark actually summed it up really well, in that it's kind of a difficult experience. Like, it's hard to watch this and not think, like, wow, there's some real talent here, and there's some kind of a vision, but also at some point in the middle of it, you're like, I wish something would happen.
Yeah. This was essentially like a labor of love. I mean, it's directed, written, and you know, cinematography, editing, all by the same guy. So
I think.
Does anyone I know that some people recommended this to us, but does anyone have any idea where we found out about this thing from?
I mean, I just heard the title somewhere, and I'm like, no lie, I think it's like one of the best titles of any movie we've reviewed on this show. Yeah, it's just so like evocative, and I hadn't seen a trailer. I just turned it on. I'd be interested to know, and I guess this is a little spoilery, but like at some point in the movie, as a viewer, you start thinking like, maybe this was me, but I didn't go in thinking like, oh, this guy's mentally ill. I went in thinking I'm watching a horror film, and you start hearing him, and you as the audience are hearing the calls that he's getting.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, oh shit, there's some kind of weird, creepy alien invasion going on. And it wasn't until about
Kisses kill, bro.
it wasn't until about over halfway through till I started going like, oh, this guy is just mentally ill, and we've kind of got a front row seat for watching it go down. Although it's still, to its credit, leaves it in the air. So
Yeah.
I think that's another neat little trick that it does.
Well, and it also just does the thing of like, what, even if, so I think you're right. Like, you don't necessarily know that right off the bat, although I think it's easy to read the mental illness piece pretty quick just because of the way he like carries himself and the way that he sort of responds to certain things. But yeah, you're right. And like, for me, it became about like, what the hell is this guy going to do? There's a scene when he takes the girlfriend character Mara down to the basement, which is, the basement is sort of where he's like doing a lot of his preparation work. He's like storing his materials down there. He believes that like the sort of surveillance stuff can't reach him in the basement. So he takes her down there because she's like kind of said to him that she hears stuff too, but she's like clearly just trying to be nice, and then it goes really poorly. And it's
I almost think that if you go in thinking kind of mental illness from the start, I almost think it makes it creepier because I didn't go in like for the first half an hour, 40 minutes thinking this guy might be dangerous, but the tension comes from once you kind of figure it out. You're just going, like John said, you're thinking like, oh my God, what is this guy going to do? Like, when is he going to
it's really that scene too, like the one John was talking about. Like when he kind of confronts this girl, all of a sudden you start to realize like, oh boy, like something, because I think they do a really good job of kind of balancing. Like you never fully think like, all right, well, no, this guy's just completely batshit crazy. Like it's always in the back of your head. You're like, all right, well, maybe something really is going on. But then that scene kind of plays out and like he's got like axes and stuff on the table. And you're like, oh shit, like, what's this guy actually going to do?
Yeah.
What happens if you get the sulfuric acid in your face?
So it's kind of a
Also,
weird...
like most nonchalant hardware store employee ever. Like, hey, would sulfuric acid like burn a face if you got it on your face? And the guy's like, yeah, it's right down the aisle.
It's kind of a weird movie, but what I think it does do is that by the end, like there are, to me, what it focuses on is kind of the audio mix, and it's actually like it's kind of difficult for me because it's not a great audio mix in the sense that I can almost kind of hear that they didn't have the best equipment, but yet the whole creepiness of the movie is centered around the audio mix, and so it's.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, like you hear these creepy like reverbed low phone calls of this person giving him instructions on fighting the aliens, and there's kind of this neat thing where you're seeing people talk, but instead of hearing the conversation, you're hearing other things, and so I really like that, and I felt like makes this feel unique in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this with headphones, and when they're in the apartment, there's like these tense scenes in the apartment, and you can hear the clock ticking.
Yeah.
Which is a little unsettling in its own special way
and
to kind of hear.
A lot of like mosquito sounds, which is always really kind of tension.
There were some pretty heavy-handed mosquito sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. Yeah, it's not
for a movie that was not actually about mosquitoes.
It's not very subtle. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, all of I thought it was interesting that there were so few. Once they start showing you that he has some of these hallucinations, I'm talking about visual hallucinations, like putting aside the audio stuff. There's a couple of shots of him when he's in bed and he's like looking at a face, but you can't see the actual face, and the head is kind of shifting around. There's a couple of scenes where it's like people's hands doing it. There was one with like blood dripping off someone's hands, and there's a scene where someone's hands are sitting in blood. Basically, there's all these things. And even those are so minimal in like what they actually are. Like if you stripped away the audio and just like played that cut for someone, they'd be like, "Yeah, what did you go? You get that like down the street at the butcher shop." Like there's nothing extreme about them, unlike so many movies where they will try to show. There's like oftentimes like a visual shock element. This was like literally as minimal as you could go in that direction and still have it qualify as a horror movie. But which I think is something to say to its credit, right?
Yeah.
Is like it's almost an experiment, like how little can you get away with in some way.
Really, honestly, it just makes me want to go buy some sulfuric acid and a steak and then pour it on it and see what happens.
See what happens, yeah.
I want to see what it smells like because he said it smelled really bad, right?
You got to imagine it smells like burning metal or something.
I mean, it did really make me think. Like, I feel like we're way overdue for a really awesome, like, alien body snatching movie. Like and that's kind of my one bummer, which is just me, but I just was like, man, imagine doing this but having it actually end up being aliens.
Maybe maybe the Blumhouse guys are going to see this and be like, "Yo, you want to do a real body snatching?"
Yeah.
What's the statute of limitations for spoilers?
Independence Day 2, yo, it's coming.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, whatever. Spoiler alert: we reviewed this movie like 2 years ago, but Honeymoon was kind of like that. That movie with
yeah, that's great.
This movie reminded me a little bit of a Pie. You guys ever see that?
No.
Yeah, like it had that sort of same like vibe to it.
It's a Requiem for a Dream guy, right?
Yeah, I'm smart. I watched Smart
Aronofsky.
Aronofsky.
Yeah, Pie, another movie about mental
ass to
illness.
ass.
Oh, no, thank you.
Oh, Mark.
Come on, you're married,
married.
now. God's sakes.
I think it was interesting too. Like somebody over email, I wish I could remember who, but was saying like they thought less of this as time has gone on, and I don't know, maybe that person has since changed their mind, but I don't have that benefit because I just watched it, so I can't say. I feel like in an odd way a lot of this is going to be forgettable in a few days because
See, I think I'm the one who said I actually thought more of it as we got further away from it.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's because I actually, as time goes by, like I do kind of forget like those like 20-minute periods where nothing is going on, and now I just kind of think about the tension parts that I liked.
I really do like the two lead actors a lot, and I think they should get a lot of credit for like working with pretty thin material.
Yeah, I thought everybody was really good in this. I really liked the love interest. I thought she was really good.
Yeah. I watched this in 2 chunks, and I started watching it like last week. Before I knew we were going to be watching it for this, and then everything started happening, traveling and stuff like that. I watched like the first 40 minutes of it, walked away. By that point, I'd already decided I probably wasn't going to go back to finish it until we started talking about we were going to cover it here for the show. So then I went back to watch it. I don't know that I would have gone back to it from what I saw in the first half of it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think I think the first 10 to 15 minutes are like pretty great. I think the difficult part comes in when nothing really shifts or changes for the next 40.
Yeah, I mean, some of the beats they set up in the beginning where he's like buying all these weird supplies, like testing out the nail gun, taping shit under tables is like definitely sets up this interesting sort of tension. And then they're like, oh, let's go play basketball. You know, like it's not really the most compelling thing until you start to get towards the end.
When they first come back to the nail gun and there's a scene where he's like putting in his mouth and you're just like, geez. But then you realize he's obviously not going to kill himself, but then he puts it on his hand. And I was kind of getting like, the skin crawlies a little bit.
I think unfortunately it's such a quiet film that it tends to be one where like you're trying not to, but you're reaching for your smartphone. And the problem with that is like if you take your eyes away, you miss little moments, or you could miss little moments. Do you know what I mean? But like with something this kind of droning, after a while, you're just like, oh man, I need some kind of stimuli.
I mean, I think there's something to be said. If Ty West made this exact same movie, we'd all probably hate it. Ooh. And we'd probably be talking about how like there's not enough, there's not enough compelling stuff going on in here. Because like this, if you think about it, like with sound beats and stuff, this is the Innkeepers, but with like a really bad mix, right? Because that was one of the things about.
I would say no. All right. So first of all, I kind of like the Innkeepers. I don't have a huge problem with it, but I think the difference is like the Ty West, like the Innkeeper specifically, is very talky in a way that this isn't that talky. Like there's a lot of like repartee in the Innkeepers, and this is I mean, it's just not like it's these two dudes, and they're both like pretty damaged and like.
There's a lot of like being in a room, staring at a wall, like wondering what the fuck is going to happen going on.
But it felt like we've all kind of been with a person that we're not like super good friends with, but we're trying to like make conversation with them, and like this felt like actual dialogue from like two people who aren't really that close, but for whatever reason are like spending time together, and they're just trying to like fill up the time. Like, whereas I agree with John, like the Innkeepers feels like the two people talking back and forth are just doing like monologue to each other.
Well, I mean, ultimately, this doesn't feel that much like a horror movie, where instead it feels more like a drama dealing with mental illness and stuff and friendship.
Well, it's like the dialogue is a funny thing. Like, my wife was kind of walking around doing some stuff. I'm watching the first 10 minutes. And in the first 10 minutes, the guy shows up at his apartment and he invites him in and they're like talking. And she just walked by and she stopped. She's like, this is really awkward. I was like, yeah, it is, but it's intentionally so. It's so, yeah, the dialogue I think is interesting. But the other thing is in the very beginning, like they're kind of leaning into, to me, I was reading it as this is so awkward because that dude's an alien. Or like that guy's a pod person who doesn't know how to talk up to people anymore, because they even show him, to me, they showed him pouring the beer down the sink and filling it with water. And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. Aliens can't have beer. It'll kill them. I don't know. So to me, like, and I don't know, maybe again, because I just came in like not knowing anything about this, I was like riding that wave of I don't really know what's going on for a pretty decent while into this.
Yeah, I mean, you honestly don't really know what's going on until the end.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the end? Are we there yet?
Sure.
So, a series of events unfolds where Wyatt is sort of spiraling out of control. He has this weird moment with the love interest, who was actually his friend's love interest, but that doesn't really matter, where he takes her to his bunker down in the basement and kind of shows her all these weapons and like freaks her the fuck out, obviously, because if you take any relative stranger into a basement with axes and nail guns and shit and tell them about the incoming apocalypse, they're going to be freaked out. And sorry, John's erotic yawning is distracting me. He's really going on.
Oh.
I got a pillow you can borrow if you want to smell something more.
So that happens, and then there's this moment where Wyatt's friend, whose name I can't remember, basically decides to kind of go along with Wyatt's shtick and is like, listen, I'm with you. I will tackle the zombie apocalypse. Tell me what you need me to do, whatever. And basically like sort of leads to the series of events where the friend is taped or chained or roped, whatever, to a chair with kind of a bag over his head. And this, honestly, to me, is like the best scene, like one of the best scenes in the entire movie. There's like, you're seeing things through Wyatt's eyes, where these whoever these people are, these beings are supposed to come at a certain time. It's counting down to that time, and from Wyatt's eyes, you're looking at this friend, and you see his friend's hands, which are like sort of like super sweaty and kind of slimy and sort of look monsterish. You see a lot of like wriggling going on inside this paper bag, so you can't tell. Like if you're still of the belief that there's aliens going on, this is like the closest thing to like an alien transformation, basically. And it builds to this moment where the clock's ticking down, this like whatever, this transformation is going to happen, these people are going to come, and Wyatt's holding the bottle of or like the jug of is it hydrochloric acid over the bag, like ready to dump it. And then it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And finally, he just kind of has this moment where he steps back and he takes the bag off, and his friend is like completely normal. And he has this kind of breakdown where he realizes like it's been in his head this entire time. And it's, to me, and you guys can maybe help flesh this out for me, I do wonder if like his friend decided to go all in as like a way to try and convince him, like, or to try and get through to him that this isn't real. But like the whole tension in this moment is like you have this friend doing this thing to try and break him out of it, and you're not totally clear if it's going to go like, I mean, it could go so horribly wrong, or it could go kind of right in this scenario, which makes for like a much easier to swallow story, but maybe doesn't make for like the most compelling ending. But if it went the other way, it would be so like cripplingly sad. It would have made
his friend had his own things to work out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
He talked through throughout the movie about how he was not very confident, very there was a whole series of things that he went through, like the bodybuilding thing, because he decided he was going to start lifting weights to make himself more confident. And then he was doing kind of like one of those, it's not Zig Ziglar, but like a Zig Ziglar type program where he's going to make him succeed at work by being more dominant and stuff like that, which ends up causing him to lose his job. And so at this point, for when it came time for his buddy asked him if he could, if he would trust him to put him into this getup, it was his way of saying, fine, this is how I'm not going to be a pussy, and I'm going to stand up and do this. And he sat down and let him tie him up.
Yeah,
he was going to make it.
I did read it like Mark was saying too, like definitely I think that he was trying to help prove to him that it wasn't real, but it's this great tension of he could have died.
Well, I mean, Casey's got a great point, though. It's like he's like, he was kind of giving up his power, but at the same time like asserting that he was going to be like game for this shit, but was also like, well, if I end up accidentally dying during this, it doesn't really matter, because he was sort of at a low point himself.
And so it's a
I do
weird
think there was
ending.
an element of him trying to help Wyatt out too, just to prove to him that it's not real.
Like, it's a weird ending, but it is this very tense scene, and really, like, once you kind of take it all in and suss it out, it's this really kind of sweet moment between friends, like this very emotionally weighty thing, and they have this great moment afterwards where they're like they kind of hug it out.
That's it. See, that's what I kind of liked about it. Like, I feel like any other movie we've seen, either one, it would have turned out that this guy really was an alien and like all hell would have broken loose, or two, he would have dumped the acid on him and we would have seen like shit get all fucked up. Like, I kind of like the fact that they're just like, oh wait, no, let me step back and like, all right, everything's okay. Actually, like that's what I kind of meant before. Like, it's almost like a twist on top of like the twist. Like, I thought that was kind of like a nice way to just kind of wrap things up.
Just a sweet story about bros, man. You know?
Yeah.
That's why, because of the ending, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it just doesn't feel as much like a horror movie as it does more of a drama centered on friendship and mental health, which is fine. I think that's actually a stronger way to end this movie. I think it's a better tale for it.
I feel like if John and I had one more day together, we would have done this at my apartment.
Oh yeah,
we could have made this movie.
100%. But that's a really great point, and that's what makes this interesting. Is like you call your movie They Look Like People, you give it a creepy poster, you give it this setup, and like you definitely are expecting some type of this one kind of thread, you know. And it's like when you don't get that, it's up to you as a viewer if you can go with it or not. And I wouldn't necessarily blame a horror fan looking for that thing to not be able to go along with it. So I guess like if you haven't seen it and you're interested, now you kind of know.
Well, yeah, I think too, this thing, it signals its indie-ness pretty hard, right? I mean, in the first 15, 20 minutes, you kind of know where you're at now.
But that doesn't mean anything, though. I mean, it could still turn out to be a horror film.
You're right. I mean, that's fair, but I do think
it's it is a horror film, right? Like, just because you don't get that traditional resolution, like you're still dealing with the same emotions and feelings.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think Eric, you asked about it early on. So this made like, I wouldn't say like huge waves, but it did pretty well on the festival circuit. It won, I think it was Slam Dance, 2015. It like won some jury award. That's just that's what the internet's telling me. But I think that's where we've heard about it, is typically like folks who have been seeing it either at festivals. It just, it's one of the new releases on Netflix Instant, which is kind of how we, keyed into it, especially given that a couple of people have recommended it. So it's out there.
Yeah, I'm actually like, it's a really interesting recommendation because it's like, it's not what you expect. And so I appreciated that nature of it for sure.
Yes.
Can you guys hear my baby crying?
I can. No.
Cool.
No.
All right, I can.
Just keep ignoring it.
It's always in my head all the time. I just keep ignoring it. So I emailed Joe on like the third day and was like, Joe, I totally understand why you drink so much now.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's not drunk. It's just like a nice buzz.
Yeah,
where
it just kind of takes the
if
edge
you
off.
had to drive, you probably could.
Anything else you guys want to discuss as when it comes to They Look Like People?
No.
Great neckbeard in this movie.
Great title, man. Like, such a creepy title.
It is a great title. A great neckbeard, but also a great title.
Someone should remake this as a movie with real alien people snatchers and call it that.
They look like people, but for real this time. I swear they're not people.
It's interesting stuff. Would you recommend this movie, Mark?
If you haven't been turned off by the spoiler.
Sorry. We honestly, man, whatever.
I think it's worth watching to pass some time.
John.
Yes.
Casey.
Yes.
Joe.
Yeah, I'd say why not.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. Like, if you like weird little off-the-beaten-path indie stuff, this is one you should check out. With that said, let's take a quick break so that we can do some fan mail.
Don't move. Don't breathe. And whatever you do, don't make a sound. Because they're back.
Get off the ground, Brady! Get off the ground!
Preparing to fire.
are they? We don't know. The worms changed somehow. Now we've got these things.
Tremors 2. Aftershocks. Evolution. It's a bitch.
Hi, this is Daniel Roebuck from Everything You've Ever Seen on Television, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Back in the house. Time to talk fan mail. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. First up, Evan says, review They Look Like People. It's on Netflix. Really well-made psychological indie horror. Pretty please? You're
What's
welcome.
That? Was that our Evan?
No. No, it is not.
No.
I just included it because I wanted to be able to say, you're welcome.
Some other Evan.
Yeah.
We shouldn't listen to this guy.
Thanks, other
It's
Evan.
okay. Yeah, thanks, bootleg Evan.
Toby says,
Alright,
hey,
Toby.
BGH, creepy question of the week. Who would be easier to stalk, a deaf person or a blind person? We just watched that. We just watched that movie a few weeks ago. What's that called?
I think we got a question like this during the movie or during that episode. No.
How was the movie?
That movie was great. Yeah, I liked it.
Should I watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that a deaf person because the blind
Yeah.
person would still be able to hear your ass coming.
Mark, as someone who likes to brag about how much American Sign Language you know, you should totally watch it.
Yeah, for sure. I know sausage and diarrhea and whatever and fuck and I can't spell my name. And I know lighter. Lighter's the easiest one.
You
'cause it
should
looks
You
like
should
exactly
watch
the
this
thing.
movie. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
cool.
know sausage and
I can
diarrhea.
sign along. Is that in line with the dialogue? Just diarrhea sausage for fuck.
Next up, Richard says, hold me, Richard.
Richard!
Congrats to Mark on his marriage.
Oh, thanks.
I was just wondering, what's y'all's favorite activity to pair drinking with? I myself love getting wasty-faced and playing video games or biking on secluded bike trails. It's not
that is super dangerous.
That is terrible.
It's not physical exercise, I'll tell you that much.
I enjoy making love. I don't know.
God. I'll tell you what, man. I like sitting back and cracking a drink and watching a good, like starting a good movie or like a TV show. Like I just want to relax, man. That's all I want to do.
Lawn sports. Big fan of the lawn sports.
Yeah, lawn sports are good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crying. I like crying.
Throw in the old pigskin.
I was gonna go some type of bar game and or lawn sports. I also enjoy dancing, as was evident at Mark's wedding.
There was lots of dancing and bar games this weekend.
You know, I've only done trivia at a bar once, and it was with Eric, and I really enjoyed myself, specifically because Eric was the one that was like running the answers, physically running the answers across the bar, like a little, like our little page.
I get like, I don't know. My problem with trivia is it runs too late, and I can't stay up that late because I'm tired. But I do get really excited and competitive with trivia.
You win by forfeit. I gotta go.
Yeah, sorry. I know I've straight up boned out halfway through matches of trivia before.
Sure. There you go. Those are a few of our favorite things.
Next up, Kelvin, as in the temperature.
Kelvin, hold me. I can't work that
Is
into Tommy
Kelvin
Boy.
is Kelvin a lady name or a man name? I don't know.
I believe it's a man's name.
Okay. Kelvin says, hey guys, fairly new listener here. Enjoying the show so far. First off, congrats to Eric on the daughter news. I'm a father to a 7-month-old girl, and I wanted to ask the fathers of BGH, have you introduced your kids to the genre? So we'll get to this. There's a little more. If so, at what age? I also want to ask of all of you, what do you think is the best way to introduce children to the genre? I realize there's a clear difference between introduction and a fond first-time memory. I'm an 80s kid, so I was introduced to Freddy and Jason at probably age 4, which scared the shit out of me. But at age 8, I watched Halloween 1 at a sleepover, which cemented my lifelong love of horror. My wife's not a big fan, so I'm prepping for the hard sell early. Thanks, Kelvin in Los Angeles.
I think you should probably just start wearing a hockey mask as early as possible.
Well, I mean, I would say like my first week, I'm just assuming kids barely seeing lights, not even, like, so we, like I was saying pre-show, we watched the 4-hour Nightmare on Elm Street documentary. We watched this movie together. Like, this is my week off from work. I'm not worried about it at this point.
My son is 2, and he is just now able to get through about an hour-long Thomas episode, and even that requires like him playing like with trains and shit for like half of it. So there's no way he's making it through a movie until he's like 8.
Here's the thing, like I've said this in the show a lot. One of my earliest childhood horror memories is seeing the trailer for Friday the 13th Part 7 on TV. That's it. Just the trailer. The commercial made me want to die. I was so scared. Like, I don't necessarily think that's a great experience I need to replicate in my child. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that happened to me, and here we are, like 30 years later.
Well,
but
I've been profoundly broken. For 30 years.
I think we need Casey to answer this question, although I'm somewhat terrified of what the answer is going to be. How old when the first full horror experience was put into place?
I don't remember exact ages, but there was times where she was exposed to it in chunks, like little bits and pieces here when she was younger. And we've always worked hard to instill in her that, kind of a line between fantasy and reality. So she's always had a fairly good grasp on it. This is the same kid that turned on Monsters HD when my wife was doing laundry one day when she was 3 and sat and watched Friday the 13th Part 3, and all she said about it was, that guy's not very nice.
No, he's not.
She started watching stuff before she started watching horror flicks regularly, it was probably like 12-ish, and a lot of, introduced her a lot of the stuff. Introductions were a lot of stuff like Monster Squad and some of the classic horror flicks, stuff like that. Stuff that's there's a lot of good stuff that's fairly palatable for a younger kid out there. And then nowadays, though, because my daughter's 16 now, but I mean now she goes to see everything with us that we watch for the show. So,
yeah, that's literally like the core horror demo from over history.
Yeah, she is the demo now.
It's certainly an interesting perspective. I think like there's a whole kind of strata of films too where, like, and I don't know, my kid's like 6 days old, but I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think like there's a strata of films that have like a nice heart to them and end kind of happily. Like, we always joke about it, but Ernest Scared Stupid is actually like a great introduction to like horror and Halloween-y tropes, but also has this heart to it and ends in, it ends okay, stuff like that.
We've got that, and you've got like Nightmare Before Christmas, like Paranorman, like Monster House. Like, those are the ones that like Mia watches.
Goosebumps, like this year's Goosebumps film, I remember saying that in that show. Yeah. Like, this is a perfect thing to show kids at some point when they can handle like a certain level of scariness. Yeah,
my daughter will be 5 next month, and she watched Goosebumps with us when we rented it, and like she loved it, like, because it's nobody's getting like murdered. There's not like blood shooting everywhere.
I just think, like, to me, like my approach to it at this point is like, it's a fine line. Like, I think that there's a fine line between, whatever, my kid's fine, I'm going to show him whatever I want, which to me I think is like a little crazy. And also, you also to me don't want to act like it's this forbidden like fruit thing that they can't be near, because that's what's going to you know what I mean? Like, that's what's gonna plant that thing in them of like.
The other
like,
funny thing is like Mia got into my toys at like a pretty early age. Yeah. So like I had like a little Leatherface like plush doll, and like she's been running around with that since like literally she can walk. So like
she's gonna see him one day and be like, eh.
Yeah, and like at the old house, I had the man room like filled with horror stuff, and we had friends who'd bring their daughter over, and they would like build it up like this big scary thing, and then it freaked her out. And it's like, of course it did. Like, it's just a room with crap in it.
Just don't be the people. I've told this story before. Don't be the people at the horror convention pushing your 3-year-old towards someone dressed as Jason holding machete while they're screaming. Just don't be those people.
My my kid, he like, even in the Thomas movies, there's like tense moments, and he gets like real scared. He'll be like, I don't want to watch this anymore, and I'm like, no, you're gonna watch it, because it's like It's like if you can't get through that, we're never getting through anything. You know.
But we've
there is
also
a point too when you're introducing them to the horror. You can, as a parent, you're going to know when it's reaching something where you thought it was going to be okay. They're not reacting well. You're going to notice. Yeah. You'll be able to read them to step in and say.
He literally, he gets like real, like kind of skittish, but he's kind of still wants to watch it. Yeah, if he starts really losing it, you're like, I need him to sleep tonight. So.
But I also think that. I also think that it's like it kind of in a weird way dovetails into the conversation the question we get every once in a while about spouses and significant others and like how do you find somebody into horror or how do you like get your person you're dating into horror, and it's like, well, at the end of the day, like maybe it's not that important. Like I'm certainly going to at some point show her horror films, but if she's not into it, like who cares, you know what I mean? Like she'll find her own weird thing that she's into that I won't understand because I'm old, and like then she'll grow up and that will be her memory of a thing that she loves, and that's just the way it is. Like my parents,
they're gonna find their own stuff no matter how hard you try.
You know, my dad like loves baseball.
Taylor Swift. Huh?
Like my dad loves baseball because that's what he loved when he was a kid, and in no way understands my love of horror. But the way I look at it is like it's the same thing. Like it's just that thing that hit you when you were young, and it's like in your reptile brain now, and so that's what gives you that comfort. You know what I mean? But just like I just think it's like. Don't go nuts. Like, just find a mid-ground, you know?
We should probably just spin this off into our parenting podcast that will be happening on a regular basis.
I mean, it's been a week. I pretty much know everything now. So, info@bloodygoodhorror.com is email address. Great questions this week. Thanks, everybody who wrote in despite taking a week off. We're also on Twitter, @BGHorror. Mark, I'd like to check out some classics, too, if we have any.
I think Mark is muted,
Mark,
and he also
muted,
cannot
bro.
see.
There's definitely some classics.
I
saw a couple.
John, can you read the classics for a moment while I wash the onions out of my eyes?
Sure.
Did the parenting talk get to you that bad? You don't have to cry, little buddy.
We should also
Mark is losing it.
And apologize everyone who shot us questions during Mark's wedding that we just really didn't
answer. Didn't answer at all.
No, we fully intended to record a show, but like after it was my fault. Like after I said it on the show, we started talking logistics about how we would record a Mark's wedding, and suddenly went, oh shit, there's no possible way for us to do that.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yes, we got a couple here. Oh boy, some of these are pretty good. When was the last one? Did we do the Timothy Oliphant? Oh wow, someone sent in a Timothy Oliphant doppelganger. Did we do that one?
I think we did. Yeah.
It was poor man's. No, maybe the question was who is the poor man or who is Timothy Oliphant the poor man?
And the answer, at least, it's not necessarily poor man. It's just doppelganger. Is Josh Duhamel? Someone tweeted that at us.
Like Josh Duhamel is a less handsome version of him, sure.
All right.
Less rugged.
Okay, I think I found. So I'm not sure. This Super Vince one might be the last one we didn't do. It says Eric saying, "My only issue with leather is sweat. They should have those doctor's office things so you just pull meat paper over the top."
What? What the hell?
Oh, Christ.
Wait, hold on.
Dumb shit.
But let me just say, if they don't give us the number and the film that the review was of, I have no way of.
Dude, but there's only 140 characters.
I mean, I will say, I definitely, it defeats the purpose.
I need
of the
to
thing
at least
if you don't
know
put
the
the episode number.
Yeah.
But some of them I love when you can't figure out like what the context could possibly.
I don't care
be.
about the number, but I need to know the movie.
I'm gonna guess Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D.
Oh,
maybe. All right, so we had a couple. We get a couple from that baseball Joe. There's some strong ones here. Of course, I didn't read this. It's not about wrestling. And that's Mark about the book Horns in episode 307. Horns. He sent one a couple days later. She's like John, but a better John. The crew about Cece, and that's episode 313.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week.
This one, what if the marrow, stayed in the ground? And that's me. To which Joe responded, "What if you showed up to a podcast?" I
don't know. There's the winner. Nice work.
Hold on.
John, you gotta say the names of the people tweeting, or it defeats the purpose here.
We've got a couple here.
You got to
We got a
give
couple
them
more.
their glory, or they're not going to send us in their.
Well, that was
tweets.
Baseball Joe. I think John did say that.
So yeah, those were all Baseball Joe. So Claire Quilty says we've got to build a clone with 5 holes. That's Joe from episode 123. She says, making sure you accommodate all the crew's sexual needs. Good on you, Joe. I don't know what Joe is referencing, but that's pretty gross. This is we get a couple deep cuts here, so I'm pretty excited. So Chase TX, that's Chase Blackstock, says, it's called Prince of Persia, not Prince of South Dakota. Mark BGH, episode 23. And this one is from episode 22. This is a deep cut. Oh, I thought I tasted vanilla. Mark, after taking a swig of Fat Lady America's vodka.
Wow, was America? Yeah, I guess America would have been circa episode 21, so it makes sense we were recapping in 22.
Yeah, there you go.
It's good to know that it would be interesting to compare our stories of getting drunk from 8 years ago as compared to
Here's
today.
like how long this show's been around, and like the naivete of the days of the internet that we were in. Like, we just put that picture on the internet, and Mark was fine with that.
Yeah, and then someone sent it to me recently. I feel like I saw a ghost. I was like, oh, I know. I'm sorry that happened. There's a lot of, there's a lot that like memories feature on Facebook. I think is maybe the worst feature they've ever
That's great.
had.
I love it.
Because it's like, oh, remember, well, at least in my case, maybe I need some distance, but it's like, remember what a piece of shit you were like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago? We don't share memories, really.
Too real.
Too real, yeah.
Jeez, Mark.
Mark, do you want me to hit the SBGH or you got him?
No, I'm good. I have my site back.
Are you sure?
Very good.
Yeah. I'm just going to kind of guess where we start. This one's from Alan Murch. Do you believe in a thing called love? Did we read that already?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I want to say you probably would just want to skip over the ones pertaining to your wedding.
Oh, no.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. May 21st. What about this? Metal Prof. Who's the best married couple in horror cinema?
Oh.
Myself.
No, I don't think we did that. I can't think of anyone except for Bride of Chucky.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. Sure.
How about the people from? Oh, God damn it!
Oh, the people under the stairs.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Rob Zombie's wife and William Forsythe in the Halloween remake.
Oh, I was gonna go with the other Rob Zombie movie. What's the fucking one where they're on the road trip?
Salem.
No.
Devil's
Rejects.
Yes, Devil's Rejects. Are they married in that?
I don't think so.
Nope. They're brothers.
They're just
And
living in.
I'm
John,
going to save John and also be bad at this. Are we counting Natural Born Killers and are they married?
I will totally count Natural Born Killers.
Are they married? I can't
They're
remember
not,
if they're
but
married.
I count it.
Probably not in the eyes of God.
Also, John, in Devil's Rejects, they're brother and sister, so gross.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but they're married, right?
Would you really be surprised if they got married?
Fun fact, when I was researching, I posted this on Twitter, but when I was looking up wedding license or marriage license info, I found out that in Illinois, you can marry your first cousin, I think, as long as you're both older than 50, I want to say.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that certainly works against my stereotypes of the
So for
Midwest,
those
Mark.
of you who are turning 49 this year, hold out hope.
Yeah. That's weird.
True love awaits on the other end of 50 if you
Like,
live in
well,
Illinois.
at that point, screw it.
Sure. I mean, I guess the idea is that you wouldn't be having kids after that point. So if you wish to have a nice domestic relationship with your favorite first cousin, then
No, I got it. Thanks.
Huh.
I
How old was
figured it
Murphy
out.
Brown when she had her kid? She was up there, right?
Yeah, she was.
Oh, I just love, like, at this point in the podcast, half the people heard Murphy Brown. They're like, who the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah. Murphy Brown, Dan Quayle's
Yeah.
best
Dan,
friend.
That's another conversation for me and Joe.
Yeah. Dan Quayle had a real problem with her because she was a single mom.
Yeah, I remember. I love that show. Corky.
It was awesome.
She was
I
great.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Murphy,
Corky
by
Sherwood
God,
Forrest.
Brown.
She was an
All right,
independent
next
woman,
one
Joe.
is from our very own Crummy Luke. He asked me if I had any last words. It's too late now. Too late now. Already betrothed. This one's from the Lausch. How excited is Mark to have intercourse for the first time?
Aw.
I don't know, Mark. How excited?
I'm pretty excited.
Okay, cool.
It's a lot different than I would have expected.
It's like warm apple pie.
why I'm still crying. That's why I'm having the eye issues. Next one is from Lowly Ant. Will anything really change for Mark other than having less money due to wedding costs? I guess that's rhetorical. Not really. I mean, that you just aren't planning a wedding anymore, and that's awesome. So you're just married. I mean, my wife and I have lived together for like 3 years already, so we were pretty much there. But then we got to have a sweet party, and now we're actually married. Yep. All right. Oh my God, this is so terrible, but I'm going to read it. Mad Science Pro. Will Cece wait a week to announce the sex of her baby so she doesn't steal the thunder from Mark BGH?
Oh, jeez. I'm starting to feel really bad about this, Joe.
Joe, what have you done?
It's all Joe's fault.
Poor
Joe
Cece.
started a rumor. Very not true.
Yeah.
That's the last one I'm going to Ron Burgundy. So, next one is from Colin, our own CMC Squiggle. Mark, congrats. Will Joe give a toast, and how many will know how to properly react?
Joe did not give a toast. Surprisingly, I was disappointed.
I did in the men's room.
Yeah. Just to Schnars.
It was me and Joe. Special moment.
I think Joe and John may have gotten married this week.
I did introduce John to my bartender, so things got pretty serious.
Other Illinois fun
Kevin.
fact: if you are a straight man married to a woman, you are allowed to have an extra gay marriage in the state of Illinois. So, John, that's not true. Joe just got this look in his face, like, if I can only convince John to come back here.
There was that time.
When you said extra gay marriage, like on top of like the one you already, you can have two.
Yeah, like matching bow tie gay marriage.
There was that time that one of my wife's friends like seriously inquired as to whether or not Mark was gay, because the only picture she had seen with him was with his like one really good friend in Chicago, and they just looked like a very happy like gay couple on vacation. And so she just seriously asked, and I was like, no, he's engaged to like a lady.
I'm just happy all the time, okay?
Yeah. Just cheery.
I mean, whatever works.
Now we have pictures to prove it. All right. Let's see. That Baseball Joe. Is there anyone in the BGH crew that you trust enough to let them do the alien test on you?
Oof.
Not Joe.
Yeah.
Not Joe.
I'd agree with that. I think I would trust all you guys.
Mark.
But I wouldn't fault you for not trusting me.
I trust Mark the most.
Yeah.
I trust you the most because you said you trust me.
Big mistake, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one from Reality Boy. Since most of you have now been exposed to changing babies' nappies, are you less bothered by movie gore?
They haven't smelled yet, obviously, because like that, I hear they don't smell till they start eating real food. So it's mainly just visually disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Until they start changing color.
Yeah, but I have had like yesterday. I had the situation of like mid changing, it just started happening again. So I'm just like literally just holding her legs up, just waiting for it to stop like coming out.
Has anybody gotten peed on yet, Eric?
No. Well, but like with a girl, it's different because it's just kind of like it's not a boy where it's just like
It still comes out though.
Boys have this and girls have that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll still get you when you least expect it.
But whatever. Like I'm sure the smell makes it way worse, but I'm pretty like it's fine.
This podcast is so different than the last time I was on it.
Also, like when they have to be changed, they scream, and so anything to do to make the screaming stop is perfectly okay.
Well, sometime maybe pre-show, or we could just do a spin-off. We'll go deep on diapers, and there are stories.
We're actually going to change the name of this podcast and the iTunes feed to Deep on Diapers.
Yeah. Oh God.
Well, I'm just
I also
waiting.
can't wait for the iTunes review that's inevitably going to come from this.
Yeah, I'm just waiting
episode.
because like she's so small that the diapers are not really big enough. So like as soon as there's some gale force coming out of there, it's just gonna be everywhere.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Like till she gets it up her back.
Let's go to the next question.
Hashtag Deep on Diapers. All right. This one's from Yogg's Updates. If this movie was about you, what would it be called? They look like blank. Otters.
Yeah.
I was gonna go giraffes.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Sasquatch.
They look like Conan O'Brien.
Joe wins.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. They look like Elijah Wood. All right. This is from Chase TX. Congrats to Eric on the baby.
Thank you.
Who's up next for life-changing events?
Probably Mark.
Yep.
There's not much left.
I know. Well, Mark, and then we just get to start badgering the new class about when they're going to start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Just bring them in every week and be like, have you changed a diaper?
Yeah.
The clock is a ticking.
When are you getting married, Evan? I would like to know.
This one's a little late on the uptake. B. Lassiter, now that Mark's at his bachelor party, what does Joe have to live for?
That's why I'm just hoping one of you gets divorced.
Yeah, because then we can just do it again.
Mark is really that's it. That's all I got. I got nothing left to look forward to.
Well, way to handle that with humor and aplomb. All right, 2 more. Podcast-a-toot. After which date is it okay to fart in front of your significant other? First, third, marriage?
A couple months in. Like,
yeah, you got to get that out of the way pretty early, I think.
Well, I think you hold it in until you can't anymore, and then you let it go and you test it out and see how it goes, and then at that point the seal's broken. It's all bets
Maybe
off.
start with like a classic sneeze fart.
Yeah, that's how you test if you're ready to move on in the relationship or if it's time to call it quits.
Yeah.
I go the opposite. I'm like, you gotta lock that thing down, and then and only then is it okay.
I
Just
disagree.
still
I
holding his
disagree.
farts.
I think it's
Dear Lord.
No.
because
Sounds
I don't.
like putting them in a
beyond
bottle.
I don't think you really want to be with somebody that a fart is going to end the relationship. Like, you want to know that they're cool. You know what I mean? So, because, like, listen, I'm going to fart, man.
Just ask him, Eric. Yo, you
You party or what?
You fart. I'm just saying.
Hey, will you pull my finger?
Like, if you fart and
Just trying to
someone's
keep it 100, girl. You into farts?
like, if you fart and somebody's not cool with that, just end that relationship right there, because you're gonna fart, man. It's a human nature.
And then give her a
by
copy
farting
of
on them
Everybody
until they leave.
Poops.
That's what butts do.
Yeah, that's true. Butts are for farting. That's
right.
for sure.
Boy, I farted today. It was real bad. I had to walk. I was in the store.
I honestly think it's hilarious that anyone's asking us for dating advice too. We're just like, just
Listen, we're all successful married people. We know what we're doing.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, it's only been a week for me. I don't know if we can judge if I'm.
But you
successful.
got there, buddy. That's what counts.
Yeah, that's true.
Leslie regrets every day of her life with me.
All right, this last one's from Quiet Eyed. Can you guys see High Rise in the U.S.? It's not a horror exactly, but I think you'd like it.
I am unfamiliar.
Is that the one with Ben Stiller and Eddie Murphy?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they're robbing the vault on the roof. That's right.
Yeah.
This
The one with
one,
Loki.
I think Casey, didn't you see this?
I did see this.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're probably looking at it for Sophistical because it sounds like it could be a
Yeah.
good fit there.
It's definitely a better fit for Sophisticult, so look
Is
for
it-
it there.
Is it Ben Wheatley?
Yes.
Yeah, so the guy who did Kill List. And
Right.
Sightseers.
Yeah. Mark, you missed one other one.
Yeah,
that
I
we
will
have-
read it. I
Okay,
just got it. Oh yeah, I totally did. This one's from franchise MPLS. What are your favorite Simpsons Treehouse of Horror skits?
Oh Lord.
There's the Willy one where he's like Freddy Krueger. I always like that one.
Oh yeah.
And the
Yeah.
Bram Stoker's Dracula might be the one that like sticks out the most to me when Burns plays Dracula.
There's one correct
was a-
answer here, and it's the election, Dole versus Clinton.
Yes.
Like, no contest in my
Kang-
mind.
Kang and Kodos.
Kang versus Kodos.
Yeah. Sure.
Always twirling towards freedom.
I honestly haven't watched one in probably 15 years, but I do remember like I used to get pretty excited about it back in the day.
Abortions for some, miniature American flags for all. Oh, man.
I feel like the most recent one that I have a memory of, and I don't even remember the whole episode, but they were doing like the Harry Potter thing, and I think Bart breaks his like magic wand and turns like a frog into that little frog like baby hybrid that's just like kill me. I can't really remember.
I think the
I just
Shining one was real good too.
Shining was really
Oh yeah.
I mean, like it kind of for me got weird when they ran out of horror movies. That's when it kind of got shitty. It was like, oh, we did the Transformers this year, and it's like, great. It's not why I'm here.
Yeah.
I have a
It's
friend
not
who like
scary.
religiously, fucking like every week, will cancel plans to make sure he's home to watch The Simpsons, and I just don't get it. Like in 2016, that's his like appointment viewing, and like good for him because he likes it, but I don't see it. I don't get it.
I watched a new episode of The Simpsons recently on a flight.
It's weird.
It wasn't horrible. It wasn't very good.
Yeah, it's just kind of there.
I mean, it's just like, you know, the best thing about The Simpsons, you know, was that like it was even before South Park and all that, it was all this like commentary on shit that you just didn't see anywhere else.
Sure.
And now that's like the baseline for every single animated show. So it's not really.
Yeah, no, I mean, it certainly was groundbreaking, but I just, like, 2016, man.
Don't ever count, man.
It's over.
Yeah.
Plus, half the voice cast is, like, Scientologists, so it just ruins it.
Oof. I did not know that.
Getting political here.
Oh, yeah, the lady who does Bart Simpson is, like, a crazy Scientologist, like, hardcore.
Huh. Cowabunga.
She was also in, fun fact, Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
That's Lisa. You're thinking of Lisa Simpson.
Yes, still.
Tune in next week for more thoughts on Scientology and diaper consistency.
Maximum Overdrive, great movie, though. Great film.
I think she was in Herman's Head, too.
Anything else, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
That's it.
Oh, I said, is there anything else? You said, yeah.
Oh, you cut out. I just heard Mark. I thought you were just calling on me. Yes.
What are we doing next week? Do we know?
No.
We don't, but Joe, you got a bunch of suggestions on Facebook, correct?
Well, we all did. I mean...
Oh, I give you full attribution on that one. We'll run a little Patreon survey for our Inner Sanctum.
What's the next theatrical release?
So The Conjuring 2 is in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So basically, we have an open thing. We'll shoot out a survey this week for that. Conjuring 2 next week. We have an open, and then we have like 7 straight weeks at the theater.
Ugh.
Including some duplicates.
Wow.
Yeah. So, buckle up, gents.
All right.
I quit. I'm done.
And we're done.
I'm out.
No, but there's some good stuff in that run, though, that I'm pretty excited about. So
yeah.
Info at bloodygoodhorror.com is email address. If you want to check out some of these classics people are tweeting about, check us out, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. You can get access to every single back episode. You can also just go to the site, click on the podcast page, and just buy single episodes if it's something you're interested in. Also, Mark, Bloody Good Horror is a site. And people write
new reviews every day. We've been starting to post trailers again. Andrew's been working on some cool features. Most recently, he's going to be digging into the good and bad DVD and Blu-ray commentaries, which is pretty cool. Ooh. I like that he's doing both because it's a pretty in-depth look on the stuff. So he's been doing that, and he also did a really great list of horror fiction podcasts, which you should check out, and that's at bloodygoodhorror.com.
Cool, awesome, guys. Well, that's gonna do it for They Look Like People. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
See you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.